Hey everyone, it's Miss Joyce. Today we'll be using benchmark fractions to compare fractions. We're first going to compare 1/5 to 5/6. So the first thing we need to do is figure out which benchmark fraction 1/5 is closer to. Remember, our benchmark fractions are 0, 1/2, and 1. We can draw a visual to find out which benchmark fraction 1/5 is closest to. So if we draw 1/5, we're going to have our visual model broken up into 5 equal parts with one of them shaded. We can see that 1/5 is closer to 0. Now let's do the same for 5/6. So our visual model will be split up into 6 equal parts with 5 of them shaded. We can see this is much closer to 1. So if we use our benchmark fractions, 0 and 1, well, 1 is much bigger. So that means that 5/6 is going to be bigger than 1/5. But make sure you read the comparison the way it's written. 1/5 is less than 5/6 since 1/5 is listed first. So up here, we're going to put our less than symbol, remembering that our symbol opens up to eat the bigger fraction. And since 5/6 is bigger, it's going to open up to 5/6. Let's try another one. Here we have 7/8 and 3/6. First, let's figure out which benchmark fraction 7/8 is closer to. We'll draw a visual model where we have 8 equal parts and 7 of them shaded. We can see this is very close to 1. So the benchmark fraction that is closest to is 1. Let's do the same for 3/6. Here, we'll have 6 equal parts with 3 of them shaded. We can see this is exactly half of the model shaded. So 3/6 is closest to 1/2. If we look at our benchmark fractions, 1 is bigger than 1/2. So that means 7/8 is going to be larger. So 7/8 is more than 3/6. So up here in our sentence, we're going to have the sign that opens up to 7/8. 7/8 is greater than 3/6. Let's try another. Here we have 1/5 and 3/8. First, let's find which benchmark fraction 1/5 is closer to. If we have our model, we have 5 equal parts with one of them shaded. We can see this is very close to 0. With 3/8, we're going to create our visual model where we have 8 equal parts and 3 of them are shaded. Well, the halfway mark of 8 parts would be having 4 of them shaded. That means only one more part needs to be shaded to have half of our model shaded. So this is very close to 1/2. If we look at our benchmark fractions 0 and 1/2, we know 1/2 is larger. So that means 3/8 is going to be the larger fraction. So since 1/5 is first, we need to make sure that the sentence we write has 1/5 listed first. So 1/5 is less than 3/8. So up here in our sentence, we're going to have the symbol that opens up to 3/8. 1/5 is less than 3/8. Let's try one more problem. In this last problem, we're going to use a little less scaffolds. Here we're going to be comparing 1/3 and 3/4. First, let's find which benchmark fraction 1/3 is closest to. We can do that by creating a visual model where we have 3 parts and one of them is shaded. We can see that this is very close to 1/2. So that means that 1/3 is closer to 1/2. 3/4 is our next fraction that we're going to model. We have 4 parts with 3 of them shaded. Well, this is actually right in between 1/2 and 1/2. So whichever benchmark fraction you wanted to round to is fine. I'm going to round up to 1/2 so that we have 2 different benchmark fractions here. We can see that 1/2 is bigger than 1/2. We can also use our visual model to compare these 2 fractions. We can see that 1/3 has a lot less shaded than 3/4. So that means 3/4 is going to be our larger fraction. So up here in our sentence, we're going to write that 1/3 is less than 3/4. And we're going to make sure that the symbol opens up to eat the bigger fraction.